Deadpan Ghosts is a horror media podcast and, as such, may feature discussion of mature or disturbing subject matter. A full list of content warnings for this episode can be found in the description.
Hey, welcome to Deadpan Ghosts, a horror media podcast hosted by two ghoulish goofs, Vernon and their trembling co-host, Jonathan. And today we are covering the 2022 A24 movie, Talk to Me. Now, usually Jonathan does the introduction, but because in the most significant way he has not seen this movie,
That's right.
I'm doing it and get to say, Jonathan, talk to me about this movie.
Wowee! Thank you, Vernon. Well, the first thing I think I want to say about this movie is that I was mostly pleased with it. However, there is a worrying kind of heart to this movie. We talk about how these movies are oftentimes allegory for something or other.
Yeah, something or other.
Right. This one deals with grief pretty heavily, trauma from the death of a loved one, and I would say kind of wades into territory that can be troublesome and hard to pull off, which is mental illness allegory. Wouldn't you say so?
Allegorically, I would say the nature of this hand, if you touch it, it allows you to talk to a ghost. It's treated by this group of adolescent friends like a drug.
That's true.
And the fear of letting their peers get involved with it is treated like a drug. There's a mom character who suspects it's drug related.
Yes.
And the main character becomes addicted to it.
I did have the thought that at a certain point, it was kind of a movie about experiencing peer pressure as a teen.
For
and
sure.
what that's like as well. So, yeah, we got some pretty interesting things going on with this one. The movie opens on none of the characters that we're concerned with. It opens with some party that's being thrown.
Yeah, music, loud music.
Yeah.
Guy approaching house party, and he's looking for someone, sibling.
Yeah.
Finds sibling locked behind a door, and like somebody's trying to get in actively already.
This sibling he's looking for is named Duckett, is that right?
Yeah, I think that is the odd name that we're supposed to kind of remember, I think.
Right, well, to get this out, since we're already dealing with an odd name here, this is, of course, an Australian horror movie that was put out by A24.
A24? Mm-hmm. Nobody says that.
A24?
I think so.
This is, of course, an Australian movie.
Yeah, I believe it's pronounced Talk to Me.
Right. And A24 put it out. And it's also the most modern movie that we've talked about so far. It came out just a couple of years ago. Apparently there's already a sequel in the works because it did super well.
Talk to Me.
Yeah,
I'm sure everyone makes that joke.
Well, I think that is what they're going to call it. I think a trailer had the two in it.
How could you not?
Yeah, for sure. How could you not? But we get an opening with a guy looking for his brother, and he's going around asking everyone, "Oi, have you seen Duckett? I'm looking for my brother Duckett around here. Have you seen him?" But apparently Duckett's freaking out. Somebody goes, he's really on something, man. First drug reference we get in the movie.
Right.
And he can hear Duckett behind the door kind of rambling incoherently, right?
I would say a lot of the movie was a little incoherent. I didn't use subtitles because it's the first time I'm watching it. So I wanted to be lost if the movie was going to let me be lost. And the Australian-ness maybe didn't help with my American ghost ears.
Right. Well, I did have subtitles on, so maybe I can help you with that.
I don't want any help.
But he eventually breaks the door down, and his brother is like sitting on the bed with his shirt off, and he's got like bruises and blood scratches all over his back.
Right. And his brother tries to get him out of there.
Yeah.
And the guy is talking as if, I felt immediately as if possessed in some way.
Right. Yeah, by some kind of spirit, perhaps. And so everybody at the party, they like have their cell phones out and they're filming him and they're all laughing and they're like, "Whoa, check out Duckett. I check out Duckett over here. He's really on one."
Yeah, people filming stuff is a big thing throughout the movie.
Exactly. Teenagers filming other teenagers who are having some kind of freak out on their phones. The film's very concerned with that. And so the brother of Duckett, whose name is Cole, I think.
According to the IMDb page in front of you.
That's right. Which the people whose house we're haunting have so nicely left open for me. He's played by R.A. McCarthy, and he gets really offended by everybody filming on their phones. He tells everyone to fuck off, basically, and while his back is turned away from his brother, Duckett sneaks up behind him and stabs him in the shoulder blade with a knife. And everybody is like completely shocked and they're all backing away from him. But he's standing there for a moment and then he immediately shoves the knife that he stabbed his brother with into his eye socket and his brain, killing himself.
Gosh,
right?
Jonathan, thanks for the play-by-play. Yes, a horrible, horrifying opening of, trying to help your sibling in distress and it being, the worst-case scenario. It was shocking and pretty rough.
Pretty hardcore way to open the movie. But, to speak to what you said about the way I described the scene, the movie is like that. They show you all the grisly details.
That is true.
There's not a close-up in that instance, but it is pretty shocking and sudden. And grisly. The sound design is, chunky. Right?
Perhaps.
There's going to be more of that as the movie goes on. After that, we get introduced to our main character, Mia, who is played by Sophie Wilde, who is a brilliant actor, by the way. Fantastic work in this film. Her mother has died, and I think that at the beginning, she is at a 2-year anniversary of her funeral.
Yeah, the term she says is it's her, I wrote it in my ghost notes, 2-year Remembrance Day, which felt
right.
Australian.
Well, I'm sure that people, all over have remembrance days for their past loved ones, but...
Yeah, but they don't call it that. Like, we call it a Remembrance Day.
I guess so. I don't know if I've heard that term before. In any case, she talks to, like, her aunt briefly. She says, like, about Mia's mother, her own sister. I still haven't taken her name out of my contacts. I know I probably should. And Mia's like, me either. So, right at the start, we get her struggle to move on from this event, right?
Right. She's not communicating with her dad.
Yeah, she goes home and she's like doing the dishes and he's behind her.
Yeah, that was a really good scene, I thought. Mm-hmm. Every time he's trying to talk, she just turned the water on to do the dishes.
And she has to turn it off and be like, what?
Yeah.
You can see that they don't have a great relationship. And there is a reason for this, not just the strain of grief, but there is a little more to this, which will be revealed later on. There's a lot of things in this movie that will be revealed later on.
Mia spends a lot of time with a friend at the friend's house.
Mm-hmm. This friend is named... Jade, right?
Who has a little brother.
Named Riley. Yes, and Jade is played by Alexandra Jensen, and Riley is played by Joe Bird, who I thought was fantastic. They're both fantastic, but Joe Bird very young in this movie. He did an amazing job for his age, to be quite honest.
Crazy performance.
Full throttle, I would say.
Yeah, that was the biggest bit of the movie for sure. His performance. And their mom is from the Lord of the Rings. That's all my brain can think to say.
Yeah, Miranda Otto. She was Eowyn, right?
Yes.
Pretty classic.
She did really well.
Is she a New Zealander or is she Australian?
I think,
Australian.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Well, that's cool. We wouldn't know the difference over here in the States, obviously. But she's right at home in this movie. Jade and Mia have a short conversation, and then Mia goes to pick up Riley from hanging out with his, like, shitty friend. Jade was supposed to do it, but Jade didn't do it. And while she was driving Riley home, something else happened.
Oh, yeah, the big allegory in the middle of the road.
Right. Like, I don't know if this is so much an allegory as it is a kind of foreshadowing, right?
Yeah. She has to pick up the brother, and on the way back from that, they see a kangaroo who's been injured, and the brother is like, put it out of its misery.
Yeah.
Like, drive over it, and...
I was like, wow.
Mia can't do it.
Right.
I wrote down, put it out of its misery. I felt like that was going to be a big, theme. That came back in a major way, and it absolutely did.
It did pay off, yeah. But this kangaroo, I wanna say, looked fantastic. I don't know if they had a real kangaroo playing dead. I don't know if that's something you can do with a kangaroo. I know that they're around in Australia, but
it looked like a puppet. It looked like a real good puppet.
It was probably a really good puppet, but it looked good. I just want to say that.
Yeah, it definitely was tangible and fantastic.
Yeah, not CGI. I don't think that they would have much of a budget for that, for this movie.
I don't know if any CGI went down, actually.
Probably not. Maybe some, like, to touch things up.
Maybe. But it was pretty practical.
Yeah, pretty practical as far as effects go. And there are quite a few of those to come. But they get home, and they don't tell Sue, when she gets back home from work, that Jade didn't pick Riley up. It was Mia who picked Riley up. Mia and Jade also don't tell her that they're planning on sneaking out after she goes to sleep. She's just a little bit of a hardcore mom. Jade comes to ask her when she's going to sleep, and she's like, because you're going to sneak out? That's why you want to know if I'm going to sleep? And she's like, no, I'm not going to sneak out, Mom. And then right outside the door, loud enough so that Sue can hear, Mia runs up and is like, are we sneaking out now?
Yeah, that was a little silly.
Yeah.
the mom is suspicious of this boyfriend named Dylan, or Daniel. It's Daniel. And there's a weird element in which Mia used to kind of have a thing, like a boyfriend, sort of not boyfriend, with Daniel, and now...
Because they were younger, and so they didn't do anything but hold hands.
Right, and Daniel is specifically a very religious person who doesn't want to do any of the sex stuff.
Right. So it seems, yeah.
But Mia's also like, let's invite Daniel because I'm really she's horny for him. There's kind of a weird polygamous. That's not weird, but there's an interesting dynamic between the three of them.
There is an interesting dynamic between the three of them. I had got the sense that maybe Mia was into Jade a little bit.
That was my initial assumption but she was talking about Daniel mostly.
She was
as the object of her affections.
Right. Well, I don't really think she loves Daniel, or that she has, like, an insatiable lust for Daniel, obviously because of the place where her mind is at. She just kind of doesn't want to be alone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I did, yeah. I got that feeling.
Like, she's described by somebody else who's gonna come up in a little bit as clingy, And you kind of get that sense that she can't stand to be without her little found family here. She kind of jokes around a little bit too much about how she used to date her friend's boyfriend, right?
Yeah, I liked the found family element, and it was a little sad that it was in question
Yeah, for
for
sure.
her.
For sure.
In the background of these opening scenes, the characters are being inundated with Snapchats from like a local group of partiers who are hosting parties at different people's houses where they're
Right.
doing this exhibition of this ghost possession hand thing.
Mia's like, have you seen this? This is crazy.
Yeah, it's
And
videos of people with like black eyes going
mhm.
crazy. And they're like, let's go.
Yeah, and of course Jade is like, they're just like faking all this to get attention. The guy who is doing all of this with his party friends is named Haley.
Yes, he's a little troublemaker who's got a devilish grin.
Right, and they go to Joss's house, who is one of his friends.
Yeah, his other guy, his hype man.
Pretty much,
They
and
carried their scenes. I thought they did wonderful.
yeah,
Those two.
they were good, kind of like asshole-ish kids. Haley more so than Joss.
Yeah, at a certain point they kind of grew on me where they became scared of what they were messing with, and you saw the little kids inside of them, and they weren't so douchey.
They do kind of have an arc there, right? And they're a little dickish, but they don't actually want anyone to come to harm. So that makes them more relatable. They're not like evil characters. They're not even
No,
antagonists. But
and they don't get their comeuppance. There's no,
no,
they're kind of set up as the characters that could easily die in a horror movie.
that's right.
They don't. At 17 minutes, we're at the party, and Mia volunteers to like do the first hold the hand thing, and we get all the setup and rules about how this works. You can't hold it for longer than 90 seconds. There's a candle involved.
Mm-hmm.
Lighting the candle is opening the door. Blowing out the candle is closing the door.
Right. There's all these rules. So this hand has been embalmed, and it's a really cool prop. Apparently, there's a real hand in there and ceramic surrounding it, and it's got all of this writing on it, which have loved to pause and like look more closely at. But a really cool prop,
Yeah, it really was.
and a really cool,
Really iconic.
and it kind of reminds me of like there's some monkey's paw energy to it all, which I think
Yes.
is naturally what you would think of when putting a spooky hand into your horror narrative, right?
Absolutely. There's less, like, what you get out of this experience is less straightforward than the monkey's paw. Like, those are
Exactly.
wishes. This is like kind of an experience, like a drug, The kind of twist of her first experience is that when she comes out of it, she says it was amazing.
That's true.
And where you would think it was, the experience was very horrifying.
It is very described as very drug-like by her. She, of course, enthusiastically offers herself up. She says, "I'll try it since nobody else wants to," because she wants to fit in, and her likability at this party is already kind of in question. Everyone kind of treats her like a redheaded stepchild for a little bit, but she wants to fit in, so she volunteers. What they say is that nobody has ever gone longer than 90 seconds, and they've been told if you go longer than 90 seconds, they'll want to stay, is how they put it.
And they, in the same little line, they say, if you die while they're in you, they'll stay forever. And I was like, wait, how do you know that? What are you talking about?
It's just what they were told, is how they put it.
I guess.
By whoever gave them the hand. Actually, we find out at the party, Duckett's name from earlier is dropped. We'll get back to that later. Put a pin in that. But she grabs the hand and she says, "Talk to me," like you're supposed to do. And she immediately sees a ghost in front of her, like right away. Cannot believe it. And she's really scared. She lets go of the hand, which breaks her contact immediately, and it's gone after that.
Right, because saying "talk to me" is not enough. There's yet another phrase.
Let me. You have to say, "I let you in."
Right. Maybe that's the name of the sequel.
No, it's gonna be called "Talk to Me."
Well,
I verified.
okay.
But she gets pressured into gripping the hand again, kind of because, like, by the way, Riley is at this party.
The little brother.
The little brother of Jade. And Jade is at the party. Daniel is at the party. All of these characters are here. And so Jade kind of thinks that Mia is, like, faking it at first, right? With the ghost she's seeing and, like, playing it up for everybody to get attention or something like that, right? You can see it in her face but there's a moment where she's like, "No, hang on. Mia wouldn't do all this." And so she gets pressured into letting a spirit. I think it's a different spirit than the first one she sees. This one is like white-eyed, kind of decaying old woman. And she says, "Let me in," to that woman, and she starts going ghost, so to speak. She gets ghostly. She acts like the spirit that has fucking taken her body. She looks at Riley, and she says to Riley that they want him, and then sees something standing behind him and says, "He's behind you now, and he'll split you up," something like that, "and you need to run."
Yeah, that was super scary.
Yeah, it was. She says, "He likes you." And then, yeah.
I don't know who he is. I don't know if it never felt like there was a specific entity to fear. It felt like a lot of different, like every time you grab the hand, it's a different ghost.
Yeah, I'm unsure if there's really like a central he to be afraid of in this narrative, you know? Yeah, there wasn't like a Pazuzu revealed to us.
No.
So this is probably not demonic, what's going on here. This is probably an example of a horror movie where spirits are just bad and they want to eat up the living and get the living to join us.
The guy Haley, who's kind of the ringleader of the hand, says they're talking about the origins of it, and they say that they heard that it could have been a psychic's hand
or a medium,
a satanist's,
or a satanist.
Yeah, so they do say that these characters are not scared off. Like, everybody's shaken by the experience, but Mia says it's amazing. Everybody's fascinated, and they immediately, like, schedule another one. Let's do it again.
Right.
My mom is leaving. Let's have it at my house, says Jade. Like, she gets roped into it.
Because Daniel wants to have a turn.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, the religious boyfriend.
Yes.
Is not scared away. He's like, he's drawn to it.
Well, in these movies, and this is a part of this thing, because the hand that lets you talk to ghosts is a drug. However, it's also a matter of fact with these contacting the dead kinds of movies that kind of thing appeals and interests some people. Nobody gathers around a Ouija board without wanting to be thrilled a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The second party quickly turns into a montage of doing it over and over. Everybody in the room getting a turn in it.
It's one of the best montages I've ever seen, actually. It's so well edited, and like the music and everything fits with it, and the sound effects are still there and really like used to punch with the edit, Like,
I guess you're right. That was something I never really seen before. A bunch of friends taking turns at being possessed.
It was impressive.
That was pretty far out. At one point, Mia it starts singing in French,
Oh, that's right.
which, as I learned from The Exorcist, is a sign of demonic possession.
Oh, that is
So
true.
there were a couple of signs that made me think, like, maybe it's not
Maybe
ghosts.
it is.
But,
Right. Could
you know,
be.
even in the end, there's some imagery of, like, a soul being covered in other souls in kind of a hellscape, it felt like.
Yeah.
I don't.
And we can get into
I know,
more of
I
that
guess.
for sure.
Jumping the gun.
That's okay. But before that montage, Daniel does get a turn with the hand,
Oh my gosh,
and
what a go.
what a scene,
Yeah, that was
right?
really bold.
It reminds me of a bit of Cabin in the Woods.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a person who is supposed to be innocent, this kid who hasn't done anything sexual.
Right. He's never even kissed Jade, she says.
Yeah, it was.
And so in this scene, the family, Jade, Riley, and Sue, they have a dog named Cookie, like a bulldog, right?
Yeah, a dog with breathing problems.
And an ugly, cute, adorable face.
Well, you know,
both
I'm
both ugly and cute at the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
the dog. There were 6 scenes with the dog with excessive dog noises. I did keep track of that, but that's all.
Yeah, that's rough on
Well,
you.
yeah, it's
I'm
okay.
sorry about that.
Yeah, no need.
I do love an ugly dog, though. Poor little guy, he can't even breathe
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But he plays a
But
pivotal role.
he does. That when Daniel gets taken by a spirit, it goes longer than 90 seconds with him, right?
That's interesting.
Because like
I don't know if there were repercussions to that would make me think it went longer than 90 seconds. I don't know if it did.
well, he was like gripping onto the hand really hard, right?
That definitely happened with Mia. The 90-second thing, it didn't feel like it factored into it. Like, that wasn't the main issue, even when things became an issue.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It was a strange rule to set up, and then yeah, definitely happened with Mia earlier. We'll cut that.
The spirit the spirit that possesses Daniel starts to reveal to the room his inner thoughts very unfairly.
You're right.
More than it did with Mia in the previous thing. Like this, it felt very different because it was talking directly to Jade, like, he's not into you, and then it turns to Mia, like, becoming really into her.
Which I don't know how true that is necessarily, if that's something that maybe the spirit wanted them to think or wanted to mess with them somehow.
Right, I think by the end of the movie I would have to say that it is just trying to put a gap in between you and your loved ones, and it's not the truth.
That's right, but there is some insecurity there, and so the spirit or demon or whatever it is says to Jade, you know, he hates when you touch him. It makes him soft.
Yes.
And also, and I think Haley or one of the other guys goes like, "Oi, this spirit's a cunt."
Yeah, he does. He does.
Which, you know, is very, very commonly said in Australia. We don't say it so much over here.
Yeah, you were quoting it in Australian, so it's okay.
That's the only way I feel comfortable saying it.
I laughed out loud a lot. This movie was quite funny.
Comical at times.
For being
but also
so grim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was taking itself fairly seriously, and it was all very grim, like you say. But I think that just comes with the territory of teen horror movies. I mean, I'm sure that this has an R rating, but horror movies concerning teens, which teens obviously go to see, even if they're not 17, often. I got into a lot of horror movies when I was a kid and still alive. Now I can just float into whatever movie I want.
The, like, being a bad influence to the youth is a big theme with, you know, them then exposing Riley to this.
Yes, Riley at the end of this montage. I'm sorry, did we get to the point of
the Daniel thing?
Having Daniel make out with the dog?
You just did. We've arrived there, and now we can blow on past it.
I don't know. I don't know if we should
Good.
just blow on past it.
It's over there. We're already over here, Jonathan.
Oh, what a...
Good on that actor. I think that was great.
That was a lot.
Is that enough?
Yeah, while he's possessed, he does a little make out with Cookie, and... Ugh.
And it's the type of, it's framed like everybody has their phones out, and they feel like it's slowly going too far, and, how embarrassing. I mean, it was
crazy. And
yeah.
Jade is very upset with them for filming that. And after he comes out of it, he begs Haley to delete it. But Haley and his shitty friend Joss are like, no, post that, bro, post that.
But you're right, that is all before the montage. And Daniel, he comes back in.
He does.
And he does it again in the montage.
He got over that pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's the drug element. It's undeniable. This whatever you're feeling when you're not in your body, when you're possessed by a ghost,
right?
You're somewhere else,
and you don't know what you're capable of when you're not in your body. When you're on this kick, right? That's another parallel.
And so he comes back, and Mia's talking about letting the little brother try it. Like, how about 50 seconds? Mm-hmm. And Jade's like, no. And it's just like, it's just like a smaller dose of a drug.
Exactly. But Jade leaves the room because...
Inexplicably.
Haley says to Riley, sorry, I can't help you, man. Your sister's boring. Riley wants to be included, and she's tired of babying him, I guess. So there's, some strain in their relationship. I think he says, I hate you or something, and she's like, you're my favorite person in the world.
Right, I think that's their last interaction before she leaves, and he does the hand talking too. He talks to the hand.
And it does not go well. Right from the start, actually, he's, choking a lot longer than normal.
Yeah. There's always a kind of an expected gurgling choke, apparently.
Yeah. And they're kind of concerned, but Haley's like, no, keep it going. And he comes out of it, and he's possessed by a spirit now. The way they set this up is really good, because we don't see what he sees. We just see his reaction when he sees it, the spirit that he's going to let in. And so when he lets it in, the spirit says, I never meant to hurt you. And it turns to Mia, and it calls her me. And it says, I loved you both. And Mia realizes that this is the spirit of her mother, who is talking to her through Riley, right?
Yeah, this was definitely the biggest moment, where the movie, I don't know,
kind of had you.
Not became interesting.
Yeah.
But it, was starting to pay off on the premise. Because right away I thought she might have wanted to go to the second party with the intention of, can we talk to a specific ghost? But she never really asked until it was suddenly thrust upon her. Here was her mom. And I think she lets it go on maybe longer because she wants to keep talking to her mom.
Yes, that's right. He stays in a little too long, past 50 seconds, past what they agreed upon, because she wants to keep talking to her mother, and she's barely gotten a chance, and her mother is, trying to get something out to her, and then he starts choking again. Riley starts choking again, and gargling, probably not great on your ears, I would imagine.
My ears? Is that how you want me to segue into my general sound sensitivity as a human before I was a ghost, but now that I'm a ghost it's even worse? And so every time we watch these movies I keep track of things like dog sounds and screams. There were 8 screams, high-pitch extended screams. Not the worst movie we've ever done. This movie was pretty okay with sound. It was a super modern movie. The gurgling, yeah, by the end of the movie, the sound of being underwater was kind of used, there's a, I mean, we'll get to it, but there's imagery of her with her, mom, where her mom's like spooning her. And it was
Right.
very like, that gurgling sounded like being in the womb. It was,
Mm.
I don't know, I felt thematically, because I felt like it was consistent, I was unbothered, and I was like, what does this mean? And I felt like it meant something, so I guess, most significantly, the movie had no eating, which this is the second movie in a row with no eating, which is insane. I look for these all my life and afterlife.
Right.
Maybe some bottle clinking and a knife sound effect once. But, alright, yeah, I've gone on long enough
Oh, yeah.
about
That was all good.
the sounds.
Yeah. But he starts choking.
Yeah, choking sounds. Lots of choking.
Lots of choking
That's
sounds.
what we were talking about.
And then it goes a little off the rails. He kind of goes like feral.
This kid's performance, though, is
Oh, yeah.
when he's the mom, when the mom is channeling through him, it's his performance, and it is like, super, the most impressive thing, make you cry stuff. I didn't tear up out of amazement, I think. I was just like so impressed at this kid. So I was a little out of the movie more than in the moment, I think.
I was impressed too. There is, of course, some dubbing there with the actress that plays the mom ghost.
Well, he was given good face. He was
That's
like
right.
crying with these possessed eyes, and it was very touching.
But he starts banging his head against the table.
Oh,
Really,
and I was just like, oh no,
like cracking his skull open. Me too. I was like, this is a lot because and it's a it's a teenage kid in a horror movie. That's just rough to have a kid suffer harm like that. He doesn't just start banging his head. He also like starts grabbing at one of his eyes and trying to pull it out.
Yeah, I mean they went full throttle. This is 40 minutes into the movie, and
I know it was a lot.
I assumed he would not survive because of the portent of if you die in the Matrix, you die for the ghost possesses you permanently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they set that
but
up.
so unfortunately, this movie does not kill this kid.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to suffer the post of trying to help him in a medical sense as a mom and a sister. I mean, that the whole rest of this movie is, man, a real horrifying bummer.
honestly, yeah. I would say so, and just real kind of upsetting stuff.
And the sister's not there. She comes in and she's trying to help it out, and
Yeah, all
man.
all comedy goes pretty much out the window at this point. Some of them, like Haley and Joss, they start getting together and being like, we got to get out of here. We got to get our story straight. The police already think we're troublemakers. They're going to pin it all on us. Yada yada. And that is while Mia is like walking away, kind of having a total shell shock moment.
Yeah, that was one of those high-pitched squealing moments where it is like a shell shock. Yeah, where all the sound goes out because she feels to blame for getting him in. It's like an overdose scene.
Yeah, he was in it for too long, and she made him stay in because she wanted to keep talking to her mom, right?
Which is pretty epic as far as conflict goes. I think that is,
It's good stuff.
that is very good.
Yeah, Jade was not in the room for this, of course, so she comes in and she's mad at Mia. Mia actually goes to the hospital after talking to the police.
Right, the cops showed up, which I felt, it was all kind of, you don't hear what is said, and I wondered if people were talking about, what people were saying. All the kids get interviewed by the cops in kind of a
Right.
silent montage.
Well,
And like, did anybody say possessed? Did anybody, like, what are you claiming happened?
they didn't claim. I think that what they agreed upon was kind of to claim that none of them knew why he did this. But I think that mainly what the police were concerned about was, did they give this kid drugs? That's
Right.
all any of these parents are worried about, but what they should be worried about is the creepy hand that Mia has taken from the party and put in her backpack
Right.
while everyone was distracted, right?
That was cool. I think that, yeah, her stealing it, I was very
Hmm.
excited
And that was cool.
because we're over the deep end. Like, we've messed up irrevocably, and so yeah,
Yeah.
she wants to see her mom again. I mean, that this is what I thought the whole movie was going to be about. Trying to contact your loved one, and it mostly was.
Yeah, most
Mm,
contacting the dead focused movies are kind of concerned with that. But there is kind of a up in the air element to it all. When she goes home, she has a short conversation with her dad, Max. I don't think I've said the actor's name yet. He's played by Marcus Johnson. We get some explanation, sort of, about how Mia's mother died in an earlier scene when she's hanging out with Riley. Apparently, what had happened was Mia's mother took too many sleeping pills, and she says it was by accident. Apparently, her father was sleeping on the couch, and when he woke up, he couldn't get into her room because her body was in the way of the door. Apparently, they had found scratch marks on the door, and so Mia says that she tried to get help, but she couldn't.
right. This was the point in which I wrote down all the stuff about the opening of the doors. Like the beginning of the movie had the
Mm-hmm.
two brothers, one had to bust the door open. The whole
Yes.
in the possession scenes, the candle is representative of a door being open and a door being
Door being
closed.
closed. There's a lot going on there.
With the nails, the mom trying to get out of the room. I'm not confident that I know what the explanation is.
Well, I think that it must not be the case because Mia kind of questions, her dad's honesty about what happened. And you get the sense that kind of this is the story that she's been led to believe by her father, right?
Yeah.
On the topic of the nail scratching the door stuff, you hear that sound effect as well throughout the movie in various
Hmm.
places. And you also get many close up shots of Mia scraping at her nail polish,
Right.
which ties in with that. And
Yeah.
that also shows her kind of frayed sense of self and her nerves and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
a lot of really cool imagery and sound being tied together, coming back around, being worked back in. A lot of doors get broken down, like you said. But we'll put a pin in that conversation she has with her dad. She goes to the hospital to check on Riley, and Jade and Sue don't want to fucking hear it from her. They don't want to see her. After they basically tell her to get lost, she sees her mother a little bit
Yeah, we got
go
Ghost Mom.
into a bathroom, and she follows her into the bathroom, and there's a mysterious bathroom stall, a scary bathroom stall, right?
Right, and there's a noise, and Mia is so in this mindset, she's like, Mom, is that you? And I wrote that down because it made me laugh. I don't know. Poor Mia just
Yeah.
being so, I'm in this ghost story so hard that, of course,
uh,
my mom is the thing making noise in the
but she
bathroom.
is also scared. Like she's rattled at this point and unnerved by everything that's going on. The bathroom stall door starts being banged on. She opens it and then there's nothing there. So she runs out of the bathroom and she's like shaken and starting to cry. And then Daniel comes back out of the hospital room. He's here too. And, you know, they have this connection, him and Mia. So he wants to check on her, make sure she's okay.
Right, he takes her home.
Which made me wonder how she got there, actually.
But the them going home together is treated with tension, like, oh, he's dating Jade, and they're like, oh, but we're just friends, and so they do go home together, and they sleep head to toe.
They do.
But I think there was this
He
tension that Amia may be inviting him over not for the maybe to have sex, but because she wants him to hold the hand so she can talk to her mom again.
That's
like
right.
She's using him suddenly.
She wants him to help her, yeah.
Right, they start to theorize about what these rules are, and it's really the script telling us what the rules are. And it's like, maybe whoever we contacted, like, they follow us. Like, do we keep seeing them? And I thought those lines were a little heavy-handed.
Well, for sure, but she's the only one who keeps seeing ghosts, importantly. Nobody else is seeing things after this party.
I wonder why that is.
Well, maybe it's because she was in too long, like we were talking about. You know, that was her who went over the 90 seconds a little bit.
Yeah, maybe in the first one, the first scene, is when they were struggling to pull the hand away.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Memory's coming back to me.
Yeah.
What happens with Mia and Daniel is that while they're sleeping head to toe, she kind of, like, gets close to him while he's asleep.
That was so sweet.
She just wants to, like...
just touch her foot to his hand and her arm to his leg. I felt for her the most then. I was like...
she doesn't want to be alone. She wants, some contact. But she starts seeing the spirit that... I think it's the same spirit that she contacted at that first party. Crouching in the darkness. It's one of those scenes I really like in a
really
horror
scary
movie where a character looks across a dark room and there's something in, like, the corner of the room that looks like it could be a person, and then it is a person.
You really like that?
Yes, I like that. But that's a...
okay.
That's a really relatable experience. The kind of...
yeah, it is relatable, and it's the scariest thing to do.
It's classic horror movie fare, and it's better than a jump scare, in my opinion. And
it was done pretty well. They held on it, and this lady crawls out of the darkness, and it is scary.
It is scary. And then she crawls up to Daniel's foot, and she starts sucking on his toes. She pops...
yeah, that was another bold one. This movie was... It made you remember everything that was going to happen. Nothing was generically horrifying. It was always like, and he's making out with the dog.
Yeah, I don't think that... The foot sucking counts necessarily toward a content warning, but...
yeah, maybe more people will click on the video if they know that there's foot sucking, actually.
Yeah,
it's
maybe...
the opposite of a content warning.
Yeah, it's a bonus.
Hashtag foot sucking.
That's the first tag, yeah. It was pretty awful. Even, when it wasn't the old... decaying ghost lady, because it switches back, she's, like, screaming at him to wake up, and he's not waking up, and she keeps screaming at him, wake up, there's this old ghost sucking on your toes, you fool. But then, when he wakes up, it cuts back, and she's the one sucking on his toes. She's possessed! So, like, he fucking gets out of there. He's like, oh my god! Like you would.
In the middle of it, there's, I think, a dream sequence in which they are, like... the bed is suddenly on the wall, and she kind of steps away from the bed, and
True.
And they kiss in the sunlight, and it's really, like, beautiful, all they ever wanted. But then over his shoulder, she sees the scene of her parents and the dad trying to get through the door and all that.
That's
and
right. Very well done.
And then the old lady foot-sucking shows up, I think.
Yeah, right after that. Yeah, she wakes up from the nightmare, and she talks about... in that earlier scene with Riley, how she has nightmares all the time, actually. And sometimes she looks in a mirror in the dream, and she can't see herself in the mirror, like she doesn't exist. And he says to her, well, you'll always have me and Jade. And she's like, yeah, I know, I don't feel alone anymore. Because he says, Jade told me that you got depression after your mom died. And she's like, no, I just felt alone. But now I don't feel alone anymore with you too. So that's nice, at least for a while.
She shouldn't have let him do the ghost drug.
She really shouldn't have. But all of our party peeps get back together after this scene, and she kind of gets Jade to hear her out again. How does that take place?
Yeah, they kind of are almost about to have a third act falling out, and where they're not going to talk to Mia anymore. But they all, talk themselves into wanting more answers, and they find the brother of the guy from the beginning.
That's right. And he's like, his name is Cole, again. I don't think it's said very many times in the movie, but he's the guy who's the brother of Duckett, and he's really messed up about everything that happened.
He throws out some more rules, which I kind of rolled my eyes at their delivery. Not his delivery, but just them telling me these rules. He was like, oh, his body, referring to Riley, his body should kick it at a certain point because the ghosts get weaker.
That's right.
And I was like, well, that's weird. Well, shouldn't the ghost connection get stronger as the possession goes on?
Well, I
mean,
guess
that's me being a ghost. I'm not telling you nothing.
I don't know. Maybe not. Right? Like they need some kind of link.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
I don't know.
That new rule didn't help me and didn't really factor.
You start to wonder if she is being tricked or not.
Yeah, she doesn't end up getting Daniel to do it in the night. After they talk to the brother of the brother, she does it by herself.
That's right.
She lights a candle and she holds the hand by herself and does successfully make contact with her mom.
Right.
And gets to ask her mom, what went down, what caused her death, and the ghost says that it was an accident and that she would never leave her.
She would never leave her. But one of the things that Cole says in that scene when they're on the bus, and the only reason that they get anything out of him is because she goes onto the bus with him and tells him that, she knows what it's like to lose somebody, right? So they have that, and he can talk to her. In this scene, he says that the ghosts, well, actually, I don't know if he's the one who said it or not, but one of the guys says that one of the rules is that the ghosts can imitate people. And
they start to throw this concept out with the word imitate, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Daniel talks about how maybe, when he's talking about how they follow us sometimes, he starts talking about how maybe, they know everything we know because they're in us, right? And they know what's in our heads. And maybe that's why the ghost called you me instead of Mia, and why it knew that your mother called you that. So perhaps there's, something to be wary of there.
Right. And so as soon as she gets this confirmation, though, from her perspective, that her mom didn't kill herself,
mm-hmm.
her dad finally wants to break a barrier of communication and share the note left by the mom.
That's right.
But it's imperfectly timed to where Mia is not in a place to believe it. And like I said earlier, it seemed then that the ghost's goal was to divide, you and your loved ones, and to specifically,
that's right,
push you away from them.
Right, and that's kind of where the grief mixed with mental illness comes into play a little bit. That kind of metaphor. Before she talks to her dad, though, she makes a plan that doesn't work. I'll just come out and say it. She brings the hand to Riley and tries to get Riley to come out of it by blowing the candle out, because there's a question of, did we blow the candle out when Riley started banging his head on the table? And they're like, I don't remember. And so, doing it by herself is kind of like her last resort, pretty much.
The candle was a little confusing, too, because
right.
If the candle matters so much, why does pulling it out at 90 seconds factor at all?
Yeah, the rules
Why am I struggling to pull it away from you I could just blow the candle out?
I don't know. The rules are a bit all over the place, but I guess you have to do both. But in the same scene, she tries to contact Riley because she theorizes that, maybe Riley's spirit is not in his body. Someone else's spirit is in his body, so he must be in limbo where the other spirits are.
Yeah, they say limbo.
Mm.
They mention,
They do mention limbo. Yeah, they say that. And she grips the hand and she's like, Riley, talk to me. But Riley does not appear to her. Instead, it's a little ghost girl. And she points at Riley and she's like, can you show me where he is? And she's like, I can take you to him.
All right, this is the vision of hell.
Kind of the vision of hell coming up here. Yeah, kind of yes.
Well, it's like a painting, a Renaissance painting of a soul being
devoured,
consumed by other souls.
Exactly. Yes, that's good. That's good reference.
It was hell.
yeah. they say limbo, but hell is what it absolutely seemed like. And in this moment, it gets flipped, and the little ghost girl is the one who says to Mia, "I let you in." And so that's
Yeah,
how
I got chills there.
I like that a lot. She gets into limbo, and she sees Riley getting devoured eternally by a bunch of souls, and so she gets it into her head that like he's suffering there, and there's nothing they can do about it. He's just stuck there.
All that hell stuff was really practically made as well. It felt like I was watching clips of a stage production of it. Like none of it. It felt like flashes of real images. It made it much more scary. These old people in makeup, but very successful.
This movie's very well shot and very well made. They do a lot of neat camera tricks, little leans, and they do a lot to provide atmosphere, actually, I think. It looks like this movie was directed by two brothers, it looks like.
Twins.
Twins, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Danny Philippou and Michael Philippou. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Their last names are pronounced differently.
Well, I used both ways I thought it might be pronounced.
Yeah, you covered your Australian bases.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm sorry. They did pretty good work, I think.
Well, gosh, let's see what happens in the conclusion, because I think that it does go off the rails.
A little bit, maybe.
In a little bit. The imitations, the ghosts being able to imitate,
does come
after
back.
Mia has kind of lost faith in her father's truth about the suicide note.
Mm-hmm. She can't accept that, and so she goes into her room and starts talking to her mom again, and she's like,
and she closed the door,
mm-hmm.
and her dad like wants in.
Well, sort of. Okay, so like she says, Mom, talk to me, and her mom shows up. Or is it her mom, right? And she's like, he's lying. That's not your dad. They're imitating him. So it's also like using like what she heard like against her, even though the ghosts are probably imitating her mom. She starts thinking, oh, the ghosts are imitating my dad, right? That's not my real dad. He's lying. And then he starts banging on the door, and she's like, he wants to hurt you. You're in danger,
But through editing, the audience is let know that while the door is being banged on, at the exact same moment, the dad is still sitting at the couch.
And he's opening the backpack and taking out the embalmed hand, the spooky embalmed hand. And he's seeing it for the first time. He's like, what's this? In my daughter's backpack, and he's...
That's interesting. Isn't she in the room communicating with the mom without the hand, then?
She must be. Because she was using the hand in the scene. She had to have been. However...
there's a hallucination element where what's really happening in front of her is not real, because the dad barges in and his face is all ghost zombied, like we've been seeing these people be.
That's right. And he starts...
And he attacks her.
Choking her. Yeah. But that's not real. Her actual dad comes to the door because he hears her fall and everything. And he's all worried, and now he starts actually trying to break down the door. It wasn't broken down yet. He breaks it down, and then he comes in, and she's just, like, writhing on the ground, making choking noises. She's being possessed again, I guess, or...
And she's reaching for
a pair of scissors.
To defend herself.
Right when her dad gets to her to help her up, she still thinks she's being choked by her dad, and she stabs... The fake dad disappears, and she stabs her actual dad in the neck. And we get a great blood spurt out of his jugular when she pulls it out. She is now clear-minded and has seen what she's done. He slumps to the floor. Dump. And then, like, I was honestly, like, really upset for a moment here.
Yeah, I wrote, oh, man.
Yeah.
This took the wind out of me.
It did take but it turns out that he is okay, actually. So that brought the wind back to my sails a little bit. I thought that was a character death, and I did not want that man to die. I didn't want him to die like that, certainly.
No, his scene of reading the letter was, incredible.
Yeah, really good.
But Mia thinks, my life's over. I've ruined my life, and it's, there's nothing holding me back from trying everything in my power to save Riley.
Right, and the way that she needs to save Riley in her own mind.
Well, according to the ghost mom is in her ear convincing her.
Yeah, she says to her, Riley needs your help. Specifically, what she says is that they're never going to let Riley go. He's going to be there forever. You need to set him free. You need to put him out of his misery. Ah, the kangaroo came back around.
Right, the kangaroo. She goes to the hospital, and the mom is there. Mm-hmm, and this is the scene that made me cry. Ectoplasmic ghost tears, for real.
Wow, yeah, it got to you.
First movie since The Poltergeist that got me. It's when the mom is crying, and she says, I know you would never do anything to hurt him, after she had been suspicious of Mia before. With, of course, Mia's intentions being to put him out of his misery. I thought that was, perfectly done.
But she's not in a good state of mind. The way she gets into the hospital room is that she calls Jade, and Jade and her are sort of, on speaking terms again, and she's like, I need to show you something. You need to come to my house right now. And so Jade is like, all right, maybe this will help things. And she leaves,
Right, and Jade gets there to find the dad right when...
Yes, she shows up right in time to find the dad, and we see that he's still alive, and he's got, like, a towel on his neck, But she has got her out of the room, and then she asks Sue, can I have a moment alone with him? And yeah, like, the whole dynamic going on here, I could see how that would get to you. For sure. Emotions are manipulated pretty well in this movie with all these contradicting motivations and perspectives. We're mostly tied to her perspective the whole time. So when we see things through her eyes, I wonder how much of it is real. But she is described by Jade as dangerous when Jade calls her mom, Sue, and lets her know that she should not be left alone with Riley.
So mom gets back to the hospital room.
And Riley's missing.
Mia has...
Yes.
She was trying to stab him with the pair of scissors.
Right. But she couldn't do it.
But she couldn't do it.
Just like with the kangaroo.
Yeah, and the kangaroo was in the hospital hallway.
Mm-hmm.
The ghost of the kangaroo.
Presumably dead by now.
Yeah, the ghost. But yeah, the mom comes back in. Riley's been taken, and Jade is running through the hospital parking lot and sees Mia pushing Riley in a wheelchair over to the freeway.
Very lucky that she looked left. She just caught that just in time.
It was a wild end of the movie that was all happening very quickly. I felt like the pushing the wheelchair to the freeway. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's happening? The
ghost that was probably imitating her mom, I would assume.
Right.
By this point.
They keep cutting, and in the wheelchair is Riley sometimes, and then sometimes this old woman, who, we can maybe assume is the one who possessed him the first time and is therefore was mimicking the mom.
I had that thought as well, but I'm not sure. Like, I have a lot of questions, but not in a bad way. Kind of in a way where I enjoy thinking about it. I do agree that there are a lot of silly rules in this film, but with the rules that I've been given, I think that, when Mia called Jade to get her away from the hospital, Jade had a moment where she was like, I actually think that Riley's getting better, which would lend credence to the theory that the ghost's power over you weakens after a little bit. Every time he would wake up before, he would immediately try to kill himself again, so there is a second vicious head trauma scene with a child in the movie.
Yeah, it comes back, and it was almost worse.
Right, that's also a moment where the water bubbling sound effects comes back into play, because his blood starts going down like a bathroom drain in the hospital.
The sound design was I think,
maybe one of the best parts of I know that parts of it were probably rough on you. Very well designed though, and put together as far as just a lot of symbolism being used. It's pretty. Anyway,
Look, we're almost there.
with this last scene,
She can't stab him in the hospital bed. Her goal is to push him in a wheelchair into traffic.
That's
Ruin
right.
somebody else's life driving the car.
yeah,
And
Jade
Jade runs up.
is running up at the same time, and we cut to a shot where it's two people driving like a minivan, and then the truck.
Yeah, those people I was talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Those people who get financially ruined, presumably.
Yeah, fortunately, it doesn't seem like they die.
No. Nobody else is hurt, but the truck in front of them swerves out of the way, and then they swerve. You see something hit their windshield, but you're not sure what it is. Like their windshield cracks.
Who is it?
And they get out of the car after stopping, and it is revealed that it was Mia who got hit by the car.
Right, now in the road, very much like the kangaroo was.
And then...
Not all the way dead. She stands up, but that's...
And she looks...
the beginning of kind
Yes,
of...
okay. Well, she stands up, and she looks at Jade and Riley. Riley is being cared for by Jade. I think it's kind of implied that Jade pushed Mia.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
But it could have been Mia breaking away and killing herself.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because in the first scene in the movie, there's an attempted killing and then a suicide. So maybe it kind of plays out the same way at the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of questions, little up in the air, but that makes it fun to theorize about, I think.
Right. The ending is this quite magical, very much like a short film would be.
True.
A lot of this movie felt like a student film in the best ways you can. But it was very, out of body. Her kind of walking past all the characters.
That's right.
Chasing her dad.
And she looks in the room where Riley is, and he's all better, and they're talking to him about going back to school, and he's like, I'm gonna have so much catching up to do. So a lot of time has passed, and she sees her dad, like you said, and she starts chasing after him, but she can't catch up to him, and all of the audio that she hears is really distorted and kind of mumbly. She has to focus in on it, and
she sees her hands, or all her nails are she's been scratching at something.
That's right. And
that ties into this really fantastic shot of her hand starting to kind of form into the shape of the hand.
That's right. Yes, that was really cool too. And she looks in a mirror. And she can't see herself, just like in the nightmare.
No, they did
that. So she was having a precognitive nightmare, I guess, about being dead, because she's dead.
The big finale reveal is that the game is being played somewhere else, on the other side of the world, it seems. She's the ghost that somebody is seeing the first time they say, talk to me.
Yeah, a candle flickers, and she reaches out, and she grabs somebody's hand, and they tell the main guy to say, let me in, and then he says it, and she zooms into him, her head goes back, and then it's roll credits.
Yeah, roll credits. Pretty good ending.
Pretty good ending. It did leave kind of a sour taste in my mouth, I will say, but maybe as we've talked about it, maybe, I like the movie more because we've identified kind of how all of these things are tied into each other, and really it's the ending was kind of signposted to us throughout the movie in a lot of ways. So I guess I can't be too upset about it. Some horror movies have bad ends, not as in a bad ending, but you've reached a bad end. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we gotta swallow that. That's scary. But, maybe she seems pretty normal as far as the spirits in the movie that we've seen.
Right, she seems at the beginning of the cycle, she's not so
Right.
malevolent. In my research, I saw a little bit of the IMDb page, and I regret doing so because all of the ghosts are credited as predator spirits.
That did.
And I was like,
that spoiled to you.
What?
That the ghosts are predatory.
Right, or at the very least, some ghosts are not. It might not be her mom. I think from immediately, I was like, I don't know if.
Yeah, right.
Even though I thought the movie was going to mostly be about contacting your actual loved ones, but I'm not sure if we ever really got
Turns
that.
out maybe not. Yeah. Or maybe...
I also had a sour taste that has maybe sweetened in talking about it.
Yeah.
Because it is quite cohesive.
But there are a few things about the movie that are somewhat, I don't know. They just make me feel a little bad, like the whole...
Yeah, I'm never going to watch it again.
It's a story about a girl with a dead mom who feels really alone, and she makes a lot of terrible mistakes because of that, but ultimately I kind of feel like she's not really given the love that she needs from anybody in this movie, except for the kid, Riley. He's a good friend to her.
Right, I guess that's what it comes down to. She's willing to give it all up to save him, because he was...
Yeah, but she's deluded, or she's been tricked. And, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what makes it such a tragedy.
Yeah, that's just, kind of whack. I don't know.
Yeah, gosh.
But I'm there for, the sense at the end of the movie. I really like the last scene that we were just talking about, because I did think that the last thing we saw was going to be, the doors closing on her dad, and then there was a little bit more. And I thought that little bit more was actually a great and better way to end it, with the fear of being actually all alone now that you're a ghost.
Very relatable.
What she really needs is to get a ghost friend to start a podcast with. That would solve her problems.
Maybe in Talk to Me.
It keeps us clear-headed.
She'll start a podcast.
Not so malevolent or predatory.
Not at all.
We're not going to start sucking on anyone's toes in their sleep. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, that's interesting that the ghosts were taking advantage of having a body and doing things in the sexual realm.
Yeah, that was
an interesting, scary element.
And eating, feasting on Riley down in limbo, right?
Yeah, I didn't count it as eating. I'm still going to award this movie that has no eating, even though some foot is sucked on.
Well, I was worried that the ghost was going to, bite off one of his toes, actually.
I did think that Mia was going to bite his toe off,
that would
for
be
sure.
Horrifying for her.
But that's the type of movie I was watching.
For sure.
It was a full throttle, not pulling any punches, upsetting, never going to watch it again movie.
But are you happy that you've seen it?
Unfortunately. Yeah, it was a ghost movie, 100%.
Yeah, I think I liked it. I may not have liked it as much as everyone else. We heard really good things about this, and I was mostly pleased.
Yeah. It was a little dated. Even though it came out in 2022, I felt like it was made, or maybe 10 years before that. Is that wrong? There was Snapchat and just some references that I felt
maybe Snapchat is still really big in Australia. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they're 10 years behind us. Oh my gosh. They also had Sia. They sung Chandelier.
That's right. I'm glad you reminded me of the soundtrack. There are some interesting Australian hip-hop tracks in this movie. For any hip-hop heads out there, that's something that makes it a little worth checking out. But also, yeah, that song Chandelier by Sia, both Mia and Riley sing their heart out to it, and that is actually one of the best moments in the movie. That's right before they come across the kangaroo.
Best moments? Cut it out.
Come on, it really is. And it was good to see the kid doing that after he was hanging out with his shitty friend who, tells him to shut up after talking about elves, because that's nerdy and gay.
Yeah, get people that understand you.
Exactly. And that's kind of a part of what the movie's about too. Do you have the right friends or not?
Right, Mia can't even find acceptance in her peers.
Right.
They both her and Riley are not in the same age group, but she wants him to come to the party because they're the best friends, you know? It's...
Yeah. Well, Vernon, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get into our ending wrap-up?
Are you referring to dates? Or no, you're anything else other than dates?
Right.
We're ghosts.
True.
I did the intro. Usually you ask me, how do you feel as a ghost after this? How is this sitting on the portrayal of ghosts?
None of the ghosts in this movie are trustworthy, as far as I see it. So, as a ghost watching a movie, that's always a shame to see.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the actual mom ghost.
I mean, there's nothing necessarily saying that she isn't really the mom. Maybe she's just evil.
I guess
Maybe
so.
She's an evil ghost now because ghosts are evil.
Oh, my gosh. Well, do you think that the main actress will return as evil ghost in Talk to Me?
I don't know. I don't know what they could do with it, frankly. I guess the hand is somewhere else now. We've confirmed that, because Mia died, the hand disappeared and it's down in Central or South America now.
Right. I think you can, imply that it moves around all the time.
Well, they also said that there might be another one out there, didn't they?
Oh, the second
hand of the Satanist and or medium.
I noticed that the hand the whole movie was a left hand and everybody had to grab it with their left hand. I wonder if in the ending Mia puts out her right hand and so it is in the second hand that she's channeling through.
Yeah, we'd have to check that out again, but oh well.
Yeah, I'd have to watch the whole movie.
No.
But yes, let me go to our famous segment, dates.
Hell yeah.
This movie
get some dates.
Premiered at the Adelaide Film Festival in 2022 on the day before Halloween. Which is why streaming services and IMDb are confused because in America it came out in 2023 in July.
Right.
But different people say 2022 or 2023.
Huh.
Yeah. It came out on the same day in July 2023 as another ghost movie.
Did it now?
Can you guess what movie that is?
Oh, 2022...
2023.
Oh, right. In 2023, you said 2023.
Yeah. I think July 28th.
Was it a Blumhouse?
No, it was, maybe more for kids, whereas this was obviously not.
Oh, Haunted Mansion?
Counter programming. Did you say Haunted Mansion?
I did.
You got it.
Nice.
You got it.
That was a good guess. All right.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
The new Haunted Mansion, of course.
Which is on our list.
Yeah, we'll get to it at some point.
Yeah. Fantastic job, Jonathan.
Thank you.
The only other numbers and dates that I thought were of note were the number 2022, or the number 22 being, excuse me, I burped, my ghost burp. I don't remember eating that. The main actress, Sophia something, was born maybe February 22nd.
Hey, that's cool. That's 3 2s.
And Haley, that was the character name of the guy who is kind of the ringleader of the hand, the guy who learns a lesson maybe.
Yeah. The main douche.
He was born March 22nd.
Oh, cool! Wow.
Yeah, and so concludes our famous section on dates.
Yeah, pretty neat coincidences right there, or are they?
Oh, fantastic. Well, great job. This was our most, modern movie.
We've gone the longest on this one.
All right, let's sign off.
I guess that's up to me this time?
Oh, Jonathan, would you like to sign us off?
For sure. Peace and love, everybody.
Peace and